Many people assume that refrigeration is the best way to keep food fresh, but not everything belongs in the fridge. Some foods actually lose their flavor, texture, and nutrients in cold temperatures. Others can develop mold, become dry, or undergo chemical changes that make them less enjoyable to eat. Understanding the correct way to store food can help you preserve its quality, prevent food waste, and even save money. In this video, we'll cover 16 foods that should never be refrigerated and explain why keeping them out of the fridge is the best way to maintain their freshness. You might be surprised by some of the items on this list. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more food storage tips, kitchen hacks, and cooking advice. Now, let's dive in. 1. Tomatoes should never be stored in the refrigerator because cold temperatures alter their texture and flavor. The cold damages the cell walls inside the tomato, causing them to become soft and mealy instead of firm and juicy. If you've ever had a bland, mushy tomato, it was likely refrigerated at some point. The cold also halts the ripening process, preventing the natural development of sweetness and acidity that gives tomatoes their rich taste. To store tomatoes properly, keep them at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. If they are still green or underripe, placing them in a paper bag with an apple or banana can help them ripen faster due to the ethylene gas those fruits produce. Once tomatoes are fully ripe, they should be used within a few days to enjoy their peak flavor. If you need to store them longer, consider turning them into a sauce or salsa instead. Refrigeration also affects the nutritional content of tomatoes. Research shows that cold storage reduces the production of volatile compounds responsible for their taste and aroma. This means that a refrigerated tomato not only tastes different but also lacks some of the beneficial antioxidants found in fresh tomatoes. If you have already placed tomatoes in the fridge, don't worry, just let them sit at room temperature for a day before using them. This can help bring back some of their natural flavors. However, the texture damage caused by refrigeration is permanent, so it's best to avoid chilling them in the first place. 2. Potatoes. Storing potatoes in the refrigerator can ruin their texture and taste. Cold temperatures convert the natural starches in potatoes into sugar, giving them an unbalanced, overly sweet flavor. This change also affects their cooking properties, causing them to brown too quickly when fried or roasted, which can result in an undesirable burnt or caramelized taste. Instead of refrigerating them, store potatoes in a cool, dark, and dry place, such as a pantry or basement. Ideally, they should be kept in a breathable container like a basket or a paper bag to allow air circulation and prevent moisture buildup. Plastic bags should be avoided because they trap humidity, which can cause potatoes to rot faster. Another important factor to consider is light exposure. When potatoes are exposed to too much light, they begin to turn green due to chlorophyll production. This green color is often accompanied by the formation of solanine, a naturally occurring toxin that can cause stomach discomfort if consumed in large amounts. If you see green spots on your potatoes, it's best to cut them off before cooking. You should also keep potatoes away from onions. Onions release gases that speed up the spoilage of potatoes, causing them to sprout and soften more quickly. If you frequently find your potatoes going bad before you can use them, try storing them in a different part of your kitchen. If you have too many potatoes and need to extend their shelf life, consider cooking and freezing them instead. Mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, and even potato soup can all be stored in the freezer for several months without losing their flavor or texture. 3. Onions. Refrigerating onions can cause them to absorb excess moisture, making them soft and moldy. The cold, humid environment inside a fridge breaks down the crisp outer layers, leading to faster decay. Additionally, onions have a strong aroma that can easily transfer to other foods in your refrigerator, giving them an unwanted onion-like taste. The best way to store onions is in a well-ventilated area at room temperature. A mesh bag, basket, or open container works best to allow air circulation. Unlike potatoes, onions thrive in slightly drier conditions, so keeping them in a cool, dry place will help them stay fresh for weeks. One mistake people often make is storing onions and potatoes together. While they both prefer cool, dark environments, storing them together causes them to spoil faster. Onions release gases that accelerate the ripening process of potatoes, leading to premature sprouting and decay. If you have leftover cut onions, however, they should be refrigerated. Once an onion is cut, its protective outer layers are removed, making it more susceptible to bacteria and mold growth. Store cut onions in an airtight container in the fridge and use them within a few days to maintain freshness. For long-term storage, onions can also be frozen or dehydrated. Chopped onions can be frozen in small portions and used directly in soups, stews, and stir-fries without thawing. Dehydrated onions are another great option for adding flavor to meals without worrying about spoilage. 4. Garlic is a hardy food that does not need refrigeration. In fact, storing garlic in the fridge can cause it to sprout prematurely, altering its flavor and texture. Refrigerated garlic also tends to develop mold due to excess moisture, making it unsafe to eat. Whole garlic bulbs should be stored in a cool, dark, dry place with good air circulation. A hanging basket or a mesh bag works well. This allows garlic to stay fresh for several weeks or even months without refrigeration. Once garlic is peeled or chopped, however, it should be stored in an airtight container in the fridge to prevent bacteria growth. If you frequently use garlic in cooking, consider mincing it in advance and mixing it with oil before storing it in the fridge. This makes it easy to scoop out small portions when needed while preventing spoilage. Another great option for long-term storage is freezing garlic. Whole cloves, minced garlic, or even garlic paste can be frozen in small portions and used as needed. Freezing helps preserve its strong flavor while extending its shelf life. If you notice green sprouts forming inside garlic cloves, don't worry, sprouted garlic is still safe to eat. However, the sprouts can have a slightly bitter taste, so it's best to remove them before cooking. To avoid sprouting, store garlic in a dry, well-ventilated area away from direct sunlight. For those who love garlic but don't want to deal with storage issues, garlic powder or dehydrated garlic can be a convenient alternative. These products have a long shelf life and provide the same strong flavor without the need for refrigeration. 5. Bread. Many people store bread in the refrigerator thinking it will keep it fresh for longer, but this actually speeds up the stalling process. The cold temperatures cause the starch molecules in bread to recrystallize, making it dry, tough, and less enjoyable to eat. While refrigeration can prevent mold growth, it also causes bread to lose its soft, fluffy texture much faster than if it were kept at room temperature. The best way to store bread is in a bread box, paper bag, or sealed container at room temperature. This keeps it fresh while allowing a bit of airflow to prevent mold. If you don't eat bread quickly, consider freezing it instead. Bread freezes well, and you can easily thaw slices as needed by toasting them or letting them sit at room temperature for a few minutes. Another issue with refrigerating bread is that it absorbs odors from other foods. If you store bread near strong-smelling items like onions or garlic, it can pick up those flavors, altering its taste. Keeping it in an airtight container can help prevent this, but refrigeration should still be avoided unless absolutely necessary. If your bread does go stale, don't throw it away. Stale bread can be repurposed into breadcrumbs, croutons, or French toast. Simply toasting it can also help bring back some of its original texture. Proper storage methods will help you get the most out of your bread while keeping it fresh and delicious. For those who love fresh bread but don't want to waste any, consider buying smaller loaves or baking your own in smaller batches. This way, you can enjoy fresh bread without worrying about it going stale before you finish it. 6. Honey is a natural preservative and never needs to be refrigerated. In fact, keeping honey in the fridge can cause it to crystallize and become thick and grainy, making it difficult to pour or use. While crystallized honey is still safe to eat, it takes more effort to return it to its original smooth consistency. The best way to store honey is in a sealed jar at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. Honey naturally contains antibacterial properties that prevent it from spoiling, meaning it can last indefinitely when stored properly. If your honey does crystallize, you can easily fix it by placing the jar in warm water and stirring it gently until the crystals dissolve. Refrigeration also alters the flavor and aroma of honey, diminishing its rich, natural taste. Honey stored at room temperature retains its floral notes and sweetness, making it more enjoyable in tea, desserts, and other recipes. Another reason to avoid refrigerating honey is that cold temperatures make it harder to mix with other ingredients. Whether you're spreading it on toast, drizzling it over yogurt, or stirring it into tea, room temperature honey is much easier to work with. For long-term storage, always use a clean spoon or utensil when scooping out honey. This prevents contamination and ensures that your honey stays pure and fresh for years. Proper storage techniques allow you to enjoy honey's natural benefits without the hassle of refrigeration. 7. Avocados. Unripe avocados should never be refrigerated because cold temperatures halt the ripening process. If you place an unripe avocado in the fridge, it will remain hard and flavorless for an extended period of time, making it difficult to use in recipes. Avocados need to ripen naturally at room temperature in order to develop their smooth, creamy texture. To store avocados properly, keep them on the countertop until they ripen. If you need them to ripen faster, place them in a paper bag with a banana or apple. These fruits release ethylene gas, which speeds up the ripening process. Once the avocado is ripe, you can store it in the fridge for a couple of days to slow down further ripening, but it's best to use it as soon as possible for the best flavor and texture. If you've already cut an avocado and want to keep it from browning, sprinkle it with lemon or lime juice before covering it tightly with plastic wrap or placing it in an airtight container. This prevents oxidation and helps maintain its fresh, green color. For long-term storage, mashed avocado can be frozen. Simply add a little lemon juice and store it in a sealed container. This is a great way to keep avocados on hand for smoothies, guacamole, or spreads without worrying about them going bad too quickly. If you frequently find yourself with overripe avocados, consider incorporating them into recipes like avocado toast, salads, dips, or even baking. Their creamy texture makes them a versatile ingredient in both sweet and savory dishes. 8. Bananas should not be refrigerated until they are fully ripe. The cold temperature damages the outer skin, causing it to turn black and unappealing. While the inside may still be edible, refrigeration slows down the ripening process, leaving you with a banana that stays hard for too long. To properly store bananas, keep them at room temperature on a countertop or hanging from a banana hook. If you want to slow down the ripening process slightly, separate the bananas from each other rather than keeping them in a bunch. You can also wrap the stems in plastic wrap to reduce the release of ethylene gas, which causes them to ripen more quickly. Once bananas reach the desired ripeness, you can refrigerate them to extend their shelf life for a few extra days. While the peel will continue to darken, the fruit inside will remain fresh. If your bananas become too ripe, don't throw them away. Overripe bananas are perfect for baking banana bread, making smoothies, or freezing for later use. Frozen bananas are an excellent addition to milkshakes, ice cream, and baking recipes. Simply peel them, slice them, and store them in a freezer-safe bag for easy use. Freezing allows you to enjoy bananas long after they have ripened. If you often struggle with bananas ripening too quickly, consider buying them at different ripeness stages. Some can be eaten right away, while others will continue to ripen over the next few days. This way, you'll always have perfectly ripe bananas available without the need for refrigeration. 9. Coffee, beans and ground. Many people believe that refrigerating coffee helps keep it fresh, but cold storage can actually ruin its flavor and aroma. Coffee naturally absorbs moisture and odors from its surroundings, and placing it in the fridge can cause it to take on unwanted flavors from other foods. This results in a stale or off-tasting cup of coffee. Another issue with refrigeration is that it creates condensation, especially when coffee is taken in and out of the fridge. Moisture is the enemy of coffee because it causes the natural oils in the beans to break down, leading to a dull and lifeless taste. The ideal way to store coffee is in an airtight container at room temperature, away from heat, light, and moisture. If you buy whole coffee beans, it's best to grind them just before brewing. Ground coffee loses its freshness more quickly than whole beans, so proper storage is crucial. Keeping coffee in the fridge won't extend its shelf life. In fact, it accelerates the loss of its rich, bold flavors. For long-term storage, freezing coffee beans is a better option than refrigerating them. If you choose to freeze coffee, make sure it's in a completely airtight, moisture-proof container. Only take out what you need for a week at a time to avoid repeated exposure to air and condensation. By storing coffee correctly, you can ensure every cup you brew is fresh, aromatic, and full of flavor. Whether you prefer espresso, French press, or drip coffee, keeping it out of the fridge will help preserve its natural qualities. 10. Olive oil. Refrigerating olive oil may seem like a good idea, but cold temperatures can cause it to become thick, cloudy, and even solidify. This happens because olive oil contains natural fats that solidify when exposed to cold conditions. While this doesn't ruin the oil, it does make it difficult to use. The best way to store olive oil is in a cool, dark place, such as a pantry or cupboard. Heat, light, and air exposure can all cause olive oil to degrade over time, leading to rancid flavors and the loss of beneficial antioxidants. To keep olive oil fresh, store it in a tightly sealed bottle away from direct sunlight. If olive oil does solidify in the fridge, it can be returned to its liquid state by allowing it to sit at room temperature for a while. However, repeated exposure to temperature changes can alter its flavor and texture over time. That's why it's best to keep it in a stable environment. For those who buy olive oil in bulk, consider storing a small amount in a convenient container for daily use while keeping the rest in a dark, cool place. This prevents frequent exposure to air and light, which can speed up the oxidation process. Olive oil is a staple in many kitchens, used for everything from salad dressings to cooking. Storing it properly ensures that it remains fresh, flavorful, and full of nutrients for as long as possible. 11. Basil and other fresh herbs. Many people store fresh herbs like basil in the fridge, but this can cause them to wilt and lose their flavor quickly. Basil, in particular, is sensitive to cold temperatures, which can turn its leaves black and mushy within just a day or two. The best way to store basil is in a glass of water at room temperature, much like you would with fresh flowers. Simply trim the stems and place them in a jar of water, covering the leaves loosely with a plastic bag to retain moisture. This method helps basil stay fresh and vibrant for longer. Other delicate herbs, such as cilantro and parsley, can also be stored this way. However, heartier herbs like rosemary and thyme do better in the fridge when wrapped in a damp paper towel and placed in an airtight container. If you have more fresh herbs than you can use, consider drying or freezing them. Freezing herbs in olive oil or butter is a great way to preserve their flavors for cooking. Dried herbs also last much longer and can be stored in spice jars for easy use. By storing herbs correctly, you can enjoy their fresh, aromatic flavors for much longer. Whether you're making pesto, seasoning a dish, or garnishing a meal, keeping herbs fresh will enhance their taste and quality. 12. Nuts are packed with healthy fats, but storing them in the fridge can cause them to absorb moisture and odors. While refrigeration may extend their shelf life slightly, it can also lead to stale, rubbery textures and diminished flavors. The best way to store nuts is in an airtight container at room temperature. This helps keep them crisp, fresh, and full of their natural oils. If you buy nuts in bulk, it's best to store them in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight, such as a pantry. One of the biggest concerns with nuts is rancidity. Over time, exposure to air and light can cause the natural oils in nuts to go bad, resulting in a bitter, unpleasant taste. To prevent this, always store nuts in a sealed container and avoid buying more than you can use within a few months. If you do need to store nuts for a long time, freezing them in an airtight bag is a better option than refrigeration. Frozen nuts maintain their texture and flavor much better than refrigerated ones. When you're ready to use them, simply let them thaw at room temperature. Nuts are a great snack and ingredient in many recipes, from baked goods to salads. Keeping them stored properly ensures they remain fresh, crunchy, and full of flavor whenever you need them. 13. Hot sauce. Most commercial hot sauces contain vinegar, which acts as a natural preservative, meaning they do not need to be refrigerated. Keeping hot sauce in the fridge can actually dull its flavor, making it less spicy and aromatic. The best way to store hot sauce is in a cool, dark place, such as a pantry or spice cabinet. This keeps it fresh while allowing the flavors to remain bold and strong. Most hot sauces can last for months or even years at room temperature without any issues. Refrigeration can also thicken hot sauce, making it harder to pour. If you've ever tried to drizzle cold hot sauce onto food, you've probably noticed that it comes out slower and less evenly. Keeping it at room temperature ensures a smoother consistency. Some specialty hot sauces, especially those without preservatives, may require refrigeration after opening. However, most store-bought brands are designed to be shelf-stable, so check the label before deciding where to store them. If you enjoy spicy foods, keeping your hot sauce at room temperature allows you to experience its full heat and complexity. Whether you're adding it to tacos, eggs, or soups, proper storage ensures that every drop packs the punch it was meant to. 14. Melons, whole, uncut. Whole melons, including watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew, should not be refrigerated before cutting. Storing them in the fridge slows down the natural ripening process, leading to a less sweet and flavorful fruit. Room temperature storage allows melons to continue ripening, enhancing their natural sugars and improving their taste. Studies have also shown that storing melons outside the fridge helps maintain higher levels of antioxidants, making them even healthier to eat. Once a melon is cut, it should be stored in the fridge in an airtight container or covered with plastic wrap to keep it fresh. Cut melons last for about 3 to 5 days in the refrigerator before losing their texture and flavor. If you have extra melon, consider freezing it for smoothies or making fruit salads. Freezing changes the texture, but it's a great way to use up ripe melons before they go bad. For the best flavor and juiciness, buy melons when they are in season and let them ripen fully at room temperature before eating. 15. Peppers. Bell peppers, chili peppers, and other varieties should be kept at room temperature for the best texture and flavor. Refrigeration can cause them to lose their crispness, making them softer and less enjoyable to eat raw. The natural firmness of peppers is best preserved when stored in a dry, cool area away from direct sunlight. If you must store them for a longer period, they can be refrigerated in a crisper drawer, but they should be used within a few days for the best quality. Peppers also release moisture when refrigerated, which can lead to a slimy texture. Storing them in a paper bag or ventilated container helps absorb excess moisture and prevents spoilage. For long-term storage, peppers can be dried, pickled, or frozen. Freezing works especially well for chopped peppers, which can be used later in cooking without thawing. By keeping peppers at room temperature when possible, you'll enjoy their full crunch and flavor, whether using them in salads, stir-fries, or roasted dishes. 16. Chocolate. Chocolate should never be refrigerated unless absolutely necessary. Cold temperatures can cause sugar bloom, which appears as a white, chalky coating on the surface. This happens when condensation forms, dissolves the sugar, and then dries, altering the texture and appearance of the chocolate. Storing chocolate in the fridge can also dull its flavor, as it absorbs surrounding odors. A bar of chocolate stored near strong-smelling foods like onions or cheese may develop an unpleasant taste. The best way to store chocolate is in a cool, dry place, ideally between 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 21 degrees Celsius. Keeping it in an airtight container protects it from moisture and prevents flavor loss. If chocolate must be refrigerated due to high room temperatures, wrap it tightly and allow it to come to room temperature before eating to restore its texture and flavor. For the richest, smoothest taste, keep chocolate in a stable environment and enjoy it fresh. That concludes our list of 20 foods that should never be refrigerated. Understanding proper food storage is essential for maintaining freshness, flavor, and nutritional value. Many of us have habits that we assume are correct, but as we've seen, the fridge is not always the best place for every type of food. By keeping certain foods out of the refrigerator, you can enjoy better textures, richer flavors, and longer shelf life. Whether it's the juiciness of a perfectly ripened tomato, the crunch of a fresh pepper, or the full aroma of a high-quality coffee, proper storage makes a noticeable difference in your meals. If you found this information helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more tips on food storage, cooking, and kitchen hacks. Have you been storing any of these foods in the fridge by mistake? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos for more great insights on how to make the most of your food. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.